This is a video on another video on President Obama's fake birth certificate.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
What's to be hidden is that the certificate is obviously fake. If you look at the background, you see that it's flat, but then the background is consistent with the certificate itself, as though they're the same background. But then the certificate is supposed to be scanned from a book, so the background would have been just plain white, the copy of the copier. But this obvious, huge, blatant flaw is, I believe, done on purpose so that it's basically a way to say, ha ha, fools. And the fooling is seen again here with the on the certificate has an X where there should be an H, and the A in the signature possibly has a smiley face, though that is controversial. And I believe that it's all to hide this fact, which is that April 25th, the day the certificate was released, is actually a DNA day. It's an occult date which is associated with a genetic experiment called DNA Day. See here. April 25th, you see from the birth certificate there, again, just down here, April 25th. So the reason that this day, April 25th, is used is because it's part of the human genome experiment. And the idea is that President Obama was genetically engineered. If you go and look at some of the other, this is the Honolulu hospital guy who's saying that it wasn't actually the original certificate.
And according to our records, this is a true and correct copy.
True and correct, but it's not
But
original.
that's not the original, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay, so it's not the original, it's a scan. And if you look at the scan, you see that it's inconsistent. The background is flat here, but then rolls into a book so that this background should be different. So that's obvious. Then you look at some of the other bits. Here someone tries, there's a number of analyses done by a number of it.
What the Associated Press did was take this piece of paper, which they were handed, put it in a scanner, and produced a document file, which they then have published. This is as authentic as the piece of paper they were handed, and no more or less.
So it's not authentic what they were handed, and yet they believe that it was. Here are some of the inconsistencies highlighted.
But the Associated Press really helped me, released a version of the birth certificate that they were given copies of at the press conference. At the White House press conference, they handed out copies of the copy that they got brought to them from the Honolulu Health Department.
So it's copies of the copy. Now we start to analyze some of the information from those computer files.
Why would we have this halo around the elements?
So there's a halo around all the elements as though they were scanned.
The only thing that I can think of is that we would have the halo around the elements for the same reason that we have a white shadow behind the elements. That the halo and the white shadow are all the same thing.
So this was scanned and computer manipulated. You see when they analyze the document, some of the letters pop out, just like you would in a normal scan. This is seen in the cut and paste of this box. You see that the box is, you see the three little ridges on the top here, and then the one thing right here in the middle is the exact same three little ridges here on the top and the little thing in the middle. It's because they cut and paste this box and put it here, or they cut and paste this box and put it here in order to hide a check mark from the original that was scanned, used in the forgery.
Altered the document, copying a checkbox, one of these checkboxes, either this checkbox over here or this checkbox over here, in order to get rid of check marks.
Just to get rid of. So some of the forgery techniques are examined and how they might have been used in this.
If I zoom in on the signature, the Dunham, after the D, all the pixels are one color. And a lot of people were claiming when you run it through optimization, it makes them all one color.
So this idea that elements were forged it goes on.
Man, on the optimized one, and you'll see that none of the handwriting has been changed to this color. In fact,
so there's an inconsistency between the D there and the rest of the name. Here we go here.
There's no changes. Let me close out of this and open an image I already have. This is just cursive handwriting. I just pulled this offline. As you can see, this is handwriting because all the pixels are different colors. It's not one solid color. It hasn't been added on the computer like Obama's mother's signature was. I'll open this in Acrobat Reader as well. Acrobat file open.
So here we're going to go on with this. He analyzes the handwriting.
Here we go. Cursive.pdf. This is the handwriting we just had. I'll zoom in and you'll see that this is obvious handwriting. It hasn't been added on the computer. The pixels are different colors, just as pen or pencil would be in real life. Let me save this. Well, first off, let me run it through character recognition. This page contains only an image, blah, blah, blah. There's no characters. So this has never been run through character recognition, and that's kind of obvious since it was just an image. I'll hit OK. OCR standard. Running, running, running. Here we go. It hasn't detected any text. All this really neat handwriting hasn't been detected as text at all, whereas people were claiming this insane signature that's almost impossible to read by a computer compared to this has been detected. And it's just ridiculous. Now let me optimize it. Because people were claiming that the pixels, which by the way are still one color, different shades of colors aren't one color. I'll optimize it. Save as optimized PDF. So this can be cursive optimized. Standard settings. Okay. Cursive optimized. Replace.
So he's comparing.
Now it's been optimized.
The OCR.
If I zoom in, it's still multiple colors. None of them have been changed
So that's
to
normal.
one solid color. And people were also claiming that, oh, well, when they ran the OCR, which, by the way, we
On
already
the
shown
birth
was
certificate.
never run. OCR hasn't been run on that birth certificate. But when they said it was run, that made it all one color. Well, we also showed earlier on that it was one solid color. And when we actually did run the OCR, that's when it changed to multiple colors. So it's crazy, really.
So he's describing the inconsistency in the OCR analysis from a normal piece of handwriting and the forgery on this certificate.
Take a look down here. Look at the one here, how it's obviously made at a completely different time and brought over from a completely different document. It's not even close. So let's find that one real quick. There we go. Not only was this copied and pasted, but it was a completely different coloring and everything else. So I find that pretty shocking.
That's one element. There's a few of them. If you look at the difference between the ink here, it's very light, where the one is darker. That happens a lot. That's what he was saying about the signature here. It's a light D and a different signature there. And you see that in the number on the certificate, where the 1 here at the end is a different ink. And it's at a different angle. So it's like it's dropped lower. That a number of inconsistencies like that can be seen on the certificate when you analyze it for the quality of the typewriter. And in that way, you see that the certificate is very likely purposefully demonstrated to be a forgery, in the way that there are these obvious clues in the certificate that say, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that the background is flat, but it looks like it's been scanned from a book. And yet the background here is consistent with this background when it should really be just plain blank, as though it were from a scanner, if it were scanned from a book. There's no explanation for this, and it should be obviously a different background, and yet it's this background which is wrong. It shouldn't be there should be an edge here continued along, and yet where the edge begins here, it disappears into as though the background and the actual piece of paper blend mysteriously, perfectly, and it's really just a way to show the certificate is fake without revealing obviously that it's fake. It's like a clue left on purpose, and that's just consistent with the occult games that are played here, which is to say that April 25th, when it was released, is DNA Day, which is the Human Genome Project, which is to say that President Obama wasn't born according to the story, but was actually genetically engineered.